Here we go with another episode of the Sunshine State Happy Hour powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author, and today I am very excited because we had the TLH Beer Society on our show last week, good friends of the blog and the show. Today, we're going to see the other side of the coin, the dark to the light, if you kind of look at that way. We're speaking with Lisa from the GNV, the Ganesville Beer Society. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we were actually chatting about this before we went live. Gainesville just has a lot of great stuff going on in terms of craft beer and may have actually gotten started a little bit earlier than Tallahassee. It's amazing what's going on there.
It is. It's a really rich, robust scene. The two big dogs in the park, so to speak, with Swamp Head and First Mag really just fill so much of the space here. I mean, we've got a lot of small, a handful of smaller breweries that, kind of bring their own creative spin to the beer scene. But, Swamp Head started back in 2008. They definitely led the way and just paved this great path for the beer makers to come in and just really put out a really awesome, consistent product. And, First Mag came out in 2012 and just brought an amazing team on board. Their head brewer, John Denny. He's, one of the co-founders. They just have an amazing product there. There's no doubt denying that.
I have yet to try a First Magnitude beer that is less than stellar, which is unless disturbing.
Correct. Unless it's a style that you're just not a big fan of, you're right. There's never a disappointing option there.
And didn't they do a butterfly beer some time ago?
They did. Okay, so this one.
Yeah, okay, we're going to settle in for this story.
Okay. All right. So I actually had a note about this and I wanted to pull it up. So it was called Frosted Elfin. And I don't have the story memorized, but essentially They took a wild yeast off of the wings of some butterflies that they were studying at the Florida Museum. That's a kind of a, it's part of all of it's, UF's tied into everything. But the Florida Museum of Natural History has the big butterfly exhibit. It's a big, it's a big tourist event, so to speak, for Gainesville. So they somehow managed a way to capture that yeast off of the wings of the butterflies and then use that in turn in the beer making process. So that was one of the hottest beers to come out of First Magnitude in a long time. I mean, Gainesville lost its mind when that beer came out. It flew out of the brewery. I mean, they sold out so quick. I will say First Mag's on the complete opposite side of town of where I live and worth the trip every time. Mm-hmm. But, it flew out of the ship, flew out of the, their cans were just gone. And I can remember going in and asking them, okay, how else am I going to get some, in cans? And they were telling me, the different beer stores in town that could get a real popular, beer bottle shop in Gainesville. It's called Tipples Brewery. They had, I had kind of a little bit of an idea that they were going to be getting some in. And I called them that morning that they were supposed to get their shipment and said, all right, what time do you open and how much can I get? And it was on limited. I mean, they had restrictions of how much you could even get the first 2 days that it was available locally in distribution. You can only get like 2 cans, not even a whole 4-pack. You can only get 2 cans. And so I showed up at their store when they opened it. It was like 10 or 11 a.m. on a weekday. And I'm like, all right, I'm here for my 2 cans and I'll be back tomorrow for my 2 cans. And then on the third day, I'm not even joking. On the third day, I went back and they're like, all right, you can have whatever's left. I cleaned them out.
Nice.
So if anybody didn't get their Frosted Elfin from Tipples, my fault.
Nice. Well, what are you drinking now?
All right,
so I'm sure that it's not that.
It's nice. Not. No, I wish it was.
That is. That's a nice red color there.
This beautiful deep purple Gosa from First Magnitude.
Nice.
They put out. They call it their saltwater intrusion Gosa, and they've done multiple iterations of it in the past. They've got another one out right now that it's like a mango. guava. No, excuse me. They've done mango in the past, right? The other one they have out currently is guava, passion fruit, and lulo, which is a fruit I had to look up. I didn't even know what that was. But this is the Deep Purple. This was just released this past Friday. It is blackberry, boysenberry, and currant. And yet again, it does not disappoint. Anything they do is just top notch.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I'm giving my shout out to 26 Degree Brewing in Pompano Beach. Just a very simple, clean. Their 2.6 lager. Pretty sure this used to be their Tri-County, but just simple, clean, easy. I'm sure I'll get the big stuff later.
Yeah, I got to give another little shout out to my glass here. It's Birds Fly South. If you've ever been in the Greenville, South Carolina area. Another place that has just a real thriving beer community, craft beer community.
Really?
Great little brewery there. And so I picked that up on some of my travels up into that area.
Excellent. That's amazing. That's really cool. So obviously the whole community is sort of taking a hit for right now. How are things going in Gainesville? I know that it's, obviously with UF has a big medical school. So Shands, I would assume, is pretty busy right now. How are things going? What's the mood like up there?
The streets are staying kind of quiet. I will say that. I myself have not had to venture out too much. I'm able to telecommute from home. My job allows that. And so that's, I'm fortunate for that. And so the breweries, the smaller guys in town, Cypress and Grove and Blackadder, they're doing crowlers, they're limited hours, of course, just for the crowler orders. I believe all of the breweries are doing online ordering just to kind of make it easier in that contactless, transaction, which we're all appreciating right now. So I know Blackadder's is doing just, I believe they're doing just growlers. And then Cypress and Grove, that they're also growlers. They did some growlers as well. And then High Springs, so High Springs Brewery is our newest area brewery. They opened just last year. And so they just started a very limited can release just because of, the situation. They weren't, I don't know what their schedule was to start canning, but with everything going on, they're like, our time's now. So they started. But so the smaller guys are doing a lot of the carry out, stuff. And then Swamp Head and First Magnitude both have setups on their properties for, drive-through pickup. Swamp Head is just doing to-go cans right now. And they've got a nice little tent set up where they will, again, that's that contactless payment. And, you just go in, pay, and they'll get you taken care of. First Magnitude has a little bit. Oh, you're pulling their thing. Yeah.
I'm actually pulling this up because I have spoken to a lot of people about this. And it's sort of, you would think it would be nothing, but everybody likes the fact that the drive-thru is literally a drive-thru. Have you done the drive-thru?
I did. I should have sent you the link to it. I posted the videos on my Snapchat over the weekend when I went in to get the Deep Purple, and it's exactly as it's portrayed here. They have a huge warehouse, so
that's
their whole facility is just in this big, huge warehouse, right? And then they've got the tap room that's off to one side, and then a real, great outdoor space, and then in their warehouse, kind of the space that's in front of the tanks is this big, wide open, multi-purpose, multi-use space. And usually they keep a bunch of picnic tables out in there so that when, if you want to be out, kind of still open air, but covered, great picnic table space. They'll have live music out there. They even have yoga on Sundays, which is great, free yoga. And so it's this great, huge open space. So it was absolutely perfect for that whole drive-through setup. And it was just the neatest thing to be, it's like you're driving and you're like, I'm driving in a brewery. This is pretty cool.
It's all it needs are a couple animatronics and it's almost like Disney.
Well, but you know what, there was still, full commitment to, their workers being covered. They had gloves, they had masks. They wouldn't touch my cash. I, made sure I tipped them as good as I could. But they had like the lid to a case of paper, and they're like, just, can you put your cash in here? That did. And they're like, can I put the beer in the back seat? let them do that. So they didn't come into contact with me. I didn't come into contact with them. So that, those extra steps of safety precaution were appreciated. And I know from seeing others, posting on social media, the other breweries are doing just the same. Great job. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, speaking of Ganesville, you kind of called it correctly in terms of Swamphead and First Mag being the, I guess, 800-pound gorillas of the city, and everybody else is there and they're doing good stuff, but it's obviously not as big. Have you heard anything about the smaller guys sort of leaning on First Mag or Swamphead in terms of needing supplies or whatnot? Or is it everybody pretty well been good about that?
I haven't seen anything. I mean, if I don't know if we would necessarily see that publicly, those kind of transactions, I would assume we're going to take place undercover. I will say this, the Gainesville beer community it's a family. I mean, it's not us against you or them against him. It's everybody comes together. I mean, they do collabs, they do community events together. Everybody has such a strong philanthropic, philosophy with them, with each other. And so it's just, there's never, I've never seen any kind of backbiting or anything. So I can say very confidently, if somebody needed help, the big guys are gonna help them as much as they can. I can't imagine in any situation them saying, "Nah, you're on your own."
Do any of them have food? The only one that I've actually really been into was Swamphead, and I know that they don't have an on-site kitchen, but I know that other places, the ones that have the on-site kitchens, are doing the food to go as well at the same time as the beer. Anything like that going on in Gainesville?
No on-site kitchens at any of the breweries here.
Okay.
However, the food trucks are continuing to come out, to be there and be available. I know with First Magnitude, they've continued to have food trucks every day. And so as you come out of the brewery, the food truck is literally right there and they're ready to take your payment if you've made an order as well, or give you your food. Because on First Mag's website, it's you're ordering beer, but then if I remember correctly, they, whatever their food truck is that day has, a link that you can kind of do both of your orders right then, and everything's ready for you when you go to pick it up. So that's been awesome to still be able to support the food truck businesses in town, because there's local favorites here for sure that we just, everybody wants to pull together right now. It's tough for everybody. So whatever we can do as a community to come together, for sure we want to do.
Which is unfortunate. How, I guess, because we had spoken about it, there's not a whole lot of interaction between Gainesville and Ocala. I would assume there's not a ton of interaction between Gainesville and Lake City, since it's about an hour and a half north of you, I think.
No, a little bit less. It's about 45 minutes. It's a solid 45 minutes.
That's not bad at all. So I definitely know that Hall Patter's been doing a lot. Do you see a lot of the Hall Patter, a lot of people kind of going up north, taking that major trip just so they can grab some of that beer and bring it on down?
It's definitely worth the stop when you're driving by. I mean, for those that are, making their way to Valdosta or going to Tallahassee or, even beyond, it's absolutely worth a stop. Who's ever going to say no to that?
Exactly. All right. In terms of some of the changes that you have seen, I guess obviously we've seen the video for the drive-through at First Mag, which was amazing. Have there been any other innovations that some of the breweries have sort of made in order to survive that you think are actually pretty neat? It's always kind of interesting to see that.
It is, and so many of the breweries, they have events and a fairly steady event schedule. I mentioned yoga at First Mag. I know that Blackadder does trivia. Well, several of them do trivia, but I know Blackadder does trivia, and it's been really neat to see them adapt very quickly their business model to this new, I hate saying the word new normal, but this new time that we're in right now. And so where everybody was nice and comfortable with that daily schedule, that weekly schedule of, okay, we're going to bring people into the brewery here for yoga, and we're going to bring them in for trivia, and we're going to bring them in for movie night. Now they've all kind of flipped it and said, okay, we've got to take this to them now. And so whether that's through Zoom meetings or not meetings, but like Zoom yogas or Zoom trivia, Facebook Live concerts, or, we've got a music community in Gainesville that Heartwood Soundstage is a big part of. They have a portal that they're streaming live music weekly on Friday nights, starting around 7:00. And it's top quality music. I mean, it's just amazing stuff. And then they're doing something, I think they're starting it this Sunday night, also through the portal. It's live storytelling. So it's just this, it's not just music, and it's not just trivia, it's different new things. And, there's yoga being done from the breweries on Zoom. And so it's just, they're trying to still have that interaction and continue that relationship with their customers and their families, but they're just doing it in such imaginative and creative ways. So that's been really neat to see.
That's kind of amazing. I would be interested in the live storytelling. I've seen some places that do music, but that I have not heard, which is actually kind of neat.
Yeah, and this Sunday, the one they're going to do is childhood memories. So just imagine, what it would be like to sit around and have a beer with a group of friends, and you're all telling your, what's your favorite memory from childhood, things like that. And just, so it's definitely something to check out.
Not to play favorites, but once this is all finally over, we're done and we can actually go back out, whose tap room are you going to just invade and lounge in first?
I hate playing favorites, but I have a soft spot for First Magnitude. I really, really do. It's not only their beer, it's their facilities. The people that run the place are just such amazing. They're just such an amazing group of people. Their patio area, their back patio area is gigantic. It's probably more than a dozen or so picnic tables, and there's a huge corner deck for live music. They've got a kids play area that has its own little fenced off area. All of the breweries are very kid friendly. The parents are very respectful of, ages and times.
Do you get a lot of the college? Do you get a lot of the college crowd there, or is it mostly the locals?
No, it's a huge mix of both. From my personal experience, I see more college at Swamp Head, and probably, I'm going to say Swamp Head. Now, Big Top Brewing out of the St. Pete area has a location in downtown Gainesville.
I forgot that Big Top was there. Their main is right on 75 in Sarasota.
Sarasota, that's right. St. Pete. So yes, so they have a storefront in downtown Gainesville that I know gets some good college crowd. But just anecdotal, my experience is that you're going to see more college kids at Swamp Head. First Mag gets but it's interesting to see how each brewery has its own different little vibe of customers and people that frequent it. And so, Cypress and Grove is located in a real historic area in Gainesville. And so, that brings a different vibe to that area. Blackadder is a real small location that's in a shopping center. It's been amazing to see what they've done in such a small space, but they have a very loyal following following there. And, but again, it's a completely different crowd because it's right off one of the main roads in Gainesville, kind of close to the interstate. So you see more Gainesville locals, young to middle age, can I call myself middle-aged professionals, go in there. And then, it's neat. It's neat.
Excellent. I will leave you with this question that I've been ending with everybody with, once the new normal is gone. What particular change, what particular innovation that you have seen, the breweries that you're with, would you like to see them continue because it's just a great idea?
Well, I like the collaboration that First Mag is doing with Heartwood Soundstage with streaming. They do a lot with local music artists at their actual facilities because they've got great indoor and outdoor space for live music. But it would be neat to see some of those same, online collaborations continue. If it's maybe something that they're hosting on site, stream that, have that available for streaming. Or if it's trivia, not everybody can get out for trivia night, but we love doing trivia. So, let some people participate, by Zoom that way, or, Facebook Live opportunities. So it would be neat to see kind of a little, keep your finger in both buckets.
That's awesome to hear. I appreciate it. So the handle is GNV Beer Society on Twitter. Check her out. She's pretty vocal. There's a lot of stuff going on. If you're interested in Florida Beer Blog, we are at floridabeerblog.com. Florida Beer Podcast is available anywhere fine podcasts can be found. And come back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We're going to be hosting the Southland Tap Room in Fort Myers, Florida, hearing everything that's going on with them. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. It was fun.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.